Taking the hike from Boca de Tomatlan along the south coast to Las Animas is my all-time favorite thing to do in Puerto Vallarta. If you like to walk or hike and you're in reasonable shape, you got to try this one out. The adventure starts with a crowded bus ride out to Boca de Tomatlan. You can catch the bus in Puerto Vallarta at the corner of Constitution and Paseo Badillo. You'll recognize it by the lineup of buses, of course, and it's right by the OXXO there. The buses depart every 15 or 20 minutes, so it's easy to get one out to Boca de Tomatlan. I don't think there's any particular schedule, so you just wait at the stop and they'll come and get you. And then when you want to return, just wait at the top of the hill and you can grab a bus back. Same sort of schedule, maybe a little more random because they show up at different times depending on how many stops they have to let people on and off the bus. Cost for the bus is only 10 pesos each way, so it's really inexpensive. Otherwise, you can take a taxi or an Uber out here, but it'll probably cost you in the order of about 200 or 300 pesos to make the same trip. And for me, taking the bus is just a lot of fun. You get to see the countryside, mingle with the people. It's actually pretty pleasant. Other than if you don't like to stand, because it's often very crowded and standing room only. The bus ride takes between 25 and 35 minutes depending on how many stops they have to make. In the morning when they're dropping off a lot of people going to work at the different hotels and resorts along the way, it's longer, and generally when you're coming back, if it's not on a weekend, it's a lot shorter. The last stop on the bus is Boca de Tomatlan, and that's where we get off to start our hike. This is also the spot that you'll catch the bus back to Puerto Vallarta. You can also catch a taxi or an Uber from here. They arrive pretty often, and the cost, I said, should be around 200 pesos to make it back. But I like taking the bus, and it's only 10 pesos to make it back. So the hike starts at the top of the hill where the bus drops you off, and we'll finish at Las Animas, which is approximately 4.6 to 4.8 kilometers or 3 miles to make it there. So just proceed on down the sidewalk and right through the center of the town until you get to the mouth of the river leading into the Bay of Banderas. It's only about 200-300 meters, and then we'll get going on this hike. Straight shot to the pier.
Is this as far as you can take the bus?
Yes. So where we got on was the very start, and then where we got off is the very end. At one point in time, this was a small fishing village, but now it's actually becoming very popular. There are a lot of restaurants to the right-hand side. They also have a pier that they're rebuilding right now where they'll drop you off if you decide to take the boat back from Las Animas or Camixto or even Yalapa, which is a lot of the destinations you can go to. I guess I should point out, instead of doing the hike, if you've got certain people in your party who don't want to do the walk but do want to meet you in one of the villages along the way, they can grab a water taxi from here. The approximate cost to Las Animas is about 100, 120 pesos, and I think it's closer to about 150, potentially up to 200 pesos if you want to go to Yalapa. There's always a lot of boats in this little bay here, which is the entrance or a river into the Bay of Banderas. Still, people are fishing here. You often see people cleaning fish that they caught in the morning, but a good number of the boats here are used for water taxis, and there'll be lots of vendors just along the sidewalk asking if you want to use them to ferry or taxi yourself out to one of the local beaches. Now that we're in town, what you want to do is follow along the river until you come to a suspension bridge, which will take you across it. If the water levels are low, like as in the river is not running high, the locals may have put down some sandbags and boards so you can walk across earlier. But I like the suspension bridge. One, it's always going to be there, and two, if you get out in front of your companions, you can run across it and try and bounce them around as they try to get across. A little bit of humor, especially if they've never been on a bridge like this before. Having said that, the bridge is very solid. They've got this netting on either side, so there's no worry of falling off. Very stable. If you have a chance and it's on a clear day and not running hard, you often see a lot of fish running or swimming in the river. It's beautiful scenery as well, because you can see right down to the end with all the boats. I really like this hike because every kilometer that you go on it, it actually changes. So the first part of the hike is you're going through the city and you're walking around the river. And that takes up the first kilometer of the 4.6 that we'll be going on today. Also, the architecture in the town is interesting, and the people are extremely friendly. And what's also really interesting is when you go through the town, you end up walking across people's front porches, and people are hanging out their windows, and they'll talk to you. It's pretty interesting. Also, you got all the dogs, and no real cats, but there's a few, but lots of chickens running around. So to say the least, it's definitely not boring, and if you like visuals, it's definitely stimulating. But probably the highlight of the first part of the trip is just looking in the bay and all these beautiful boats and the nice green water. When you go on these hikes, it's a really good idea to bring some water with you because it's easy to get dehydrated. There's a couple of tiendas or corner stores in town, but also along this little walkway where you can pick up something to drink, and I highly recommend that you do that. The temperature in Puerto Vallarta between about the middle of November to the middle of April generally ranges from about 25 to 31 degrees Celsius. So quite warm, but the good news is in that period of time, humidity is generally dropped off quite a bit. So it's really quite comfortable to hike. And the good news about this particular trail, the sun is actually behind you and you're sheltered by a lot of the trees or the canopy along the coast. So you're not really walking in direct sunlight on most of the hike.
23 minutes, 56 seconds per kilometer. Split pace, 23 minutes, 56 seconds per kilometer.
We are leaving the town of Boca now in the stream.
How many nights was it? Like how many, like each night was more different? And kind of...
So during the second kilometer of the hike, you're still in an urban area, and when I say that, it's only accessible by boat in this particular path. So if you want to go shopping, you need to go into town by boat, or you need to walk along it and around and across these bridges. What I like about this different section is you've got some fairly high-end modern homes and some, I don't want to call them low-end, but some original homes that haven't been developed yet. So it's interesting to see what people have developed here, and I'll tell you, if I had an opportunity and the money, it'd be a very pleasant place to purchase a property and live. It's pretty tranquil here. Plus, being on the bus route, it's very easy to get back to Puerto Vallarta with all its conveniences.
It's got a sign on what it is.
Oh, does it? Oh, it does too.
Yeah, there's a few of them that way, but that one's worn off, unfortunately.
5 kiss something.
They rebuilt the bridge here, so it's a lot nicer. Even got some handrails on it this year. I think that's the safest I've ever seen it.
Yeah, really.
So this is an example of one of the larger homes that I really enjoy that you find along this particular stretch of the hike. Could you imagine owning a place here? Just incredible. Maybe in the next life. You know what?
You see a turtle?
So at the exit of the bay here, you find a nice lookout. I would just be a little bit cautious on it. Some of the steps are a little bit rotted out. And the guardrail, I wouldn't lean too much on it. At least the end posts are definitely not secure. But great place to have a look-see back into the bay, especially at the homes and some of the boats zipping by. Lots of water taxis going back and forth. You can see how frequently they come around, so you know it's quite easy. I will also tell you that if you do find that as you're going through this particular hike you get a little bit tired, just stop at one of the beaches, and often you can wave down a water taxi and they'll pick you up and they'll take you back or take you to where you were planning to go, such as Los Animas, Camixto, or Yalapa. The hardest part of this particular hike is one large climb, maybe a couple of 100 feet up into the mountains to what I call the jungle portion of the hike. It's not that difficult, but the steps are a little bit uneven. The good news is they've got a guardrail most of the way up. So it's take your time and you'll make it without any problem. And like I said, stop and rest if you need it. But this is definitely the hardest part of the trail. If you can do this, everything else is much easier. So keep your eyes open and while you're in the jungle section, because there's lots of different animals. I've never seen any snakes or scorpions here, but they are around. So please, if you're going to put your hands down as you're going past the rocks, make sure you take a look before you do that. On this particular day, we saw a coate. It's like a raccoon, but it has a longer nose. Unfortunately, it scampered down the trail before I could get a photograph or get it in my video. But that was a surprise. First time I've seen one on the trail. I've seen them in Puerto Vallarta or in Nuevo Vallarta, but I've never seen one along this section. But it's very common to find butterflies and lots of different flowers along the trail, especially when it's closer to November, when everything is still quite green.
Here's a termite nest, right here. Look how tall these palm fronds are. Check out the palm fronds up here, they're huge.
Probably the animal you see the most around here are iguanas and birds. We've had macaws and parrots fly over us and actually very, very close to us. At approximately 2 kilometers, there's a large descent down into Calamitos, which is probably the most picturesque beach, I think, in all of Puerto Vallarta. There used to be a lot of brochures about the city and beaches, and if you could find one, it often showed a picture of Calamitos. In a minute here, I think you'll see why. Now, this section of the trail is actually quite steep. It's not that difficult. There's many sections with handrails, but the ground is uneven, or the steps are definitely uneven, so you really do need to take your time to avoid a slip and fall. But I would say that is the descent anyways down to Calamitos Beach is probably the second hardest portion of the entire hike, and it's about 2 kilometers from the start of the trail.
This is the beach, like I said. Every time you used to see a brochure of Puerto Vallarta, they would show this beach. So green.
Later, Weaver.
The mad dash towards the beach. You can try this swing here, David, but you got to get over the rocks.
Oh, I got that.
And 2 years ago, they put a bar in down here too, so.
Is it still here?
Yep.
He is making tracks.
Watch your step here, Lynn. The tiles have worn out.
Do we have time, David?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about having fun.
This beach is absolutely beautiful. Little small, and it does get a little bit crowded sometimes on the weekends when the locals come out, especially now that they've got a bar and small little restaurant here. But if you're here and you can take the time on the hike, I highly encourage you to swim. Now, the low tide is obviously the best, and today we've got a nice sunny day and it's not very wavy, so getting in and out is just wonderful. Nice soft sand, really enjoyable. So like I said, one of the best beaches in Puerto Vallarta, if not the best. As I said earlier, you don't need to hike to this beach. You can just jump in a water taxi and they'll drop you off right here. So that makes it nice and easy. So if there's people in your party that do not want to walk or don't like to hike, you can always meet them here.
Wave, Tina. Okay.
Oh, you want me to hand it?
So what do you think of Calamitos?
It's amazing. Oh my God.
What a nice little hike to get here too.
Yes. Unbelievable. This is probably my favorite. If we just came here, I would get
Oh, they probably walk back to the town or... You can wave these water taxis down. It'll come pick you up pretty much anywhere along the trail that there's a beach.
David, you want David to hold your phones? Oh, I can't believe Lynn doesn't want to dip in.
What an incredible beach. What an incredible life we have.
Incredible. I mean, that's the only words I can say. Huge feet.
So guys, where are you from?
We're usually celebrities.
Where?
Saskatchewan.
Okay, we got a lot of Canadians here, and how are you enjoying Calamitos Beach?
Awesome.
Good, you enjoying the hike?
Exceptionally good.
Sam from Alberta, though.
Alberta, okay. Anyways. Now, the second hardest climb, but not nearly as hard as the first one, is right here. Watch your step, because there's a little sand on the stones.
So this particular section of the hike I refer to as the coastal trail. You're up a little high, but you're walking along right along the edge of the coast, so you got great views of the water as well as the rocky coastline. I would rate this portion of the hike, or at least from this section all the way to Las Animas, as intermediate to easy. There's not a lot of ups and downs, and the terrain is actually fairly level. I think most people really enjoy this because it's just spectacularly beautiful. I should clarify a little bit when I say it's mostly level. What I mean is that you don't have a lot of steep up and downs. There's still going to be up and downs as you traverse some of the little ravines that run down to the beach fronts, but nothing is very difficult. Lots of places have handrails. The trail is relatively wide, and compared to the first 2 kilometers of this trail, much easier.
Leaving Calamitos on our way to Las Animas. And this is what they call the Bridge of Dreams. They used to have a sign on it to that effect. Unfortunately, after a few years, it's no longer here. Fortunately, the sign may be gone, but the little bridges are still there. If you can call these bridges.
There's lots of places that you can stop and just take in the scenery, such as this one. You're able to climb off the trail or get down off the trail onto this large rock and check out the water and the coastline. And you can see how amazingly clear and green the water is here. It's very different than Centro and Puerto Vallarta, and it's mainly due to the sand. In Centro, it's a real silty sand, so if there's any little wave action, it stirs it up and it looks a little bit cloudy or even dirty. When it's not, it's just the silt stirred up. But in this area, the whole coastline here is really a rocky type sand, so it's quite coarse and it doesn't stir up so much, and therefore the water is always clear and green. Very pleasant.
Forgot their t-shirt. Oh, it's up there.
At high tide, you can't do the beach. The trail continues up there. come on. I said the hard parts were over. I didn't say the hills were over.
On this section of the trail, the terrain changes again. You start walking across some rocky beaches, but what's really interesting is there's a number of resorts and beach clubs here, and you either walk in front of them, walk through them, or walk around them. So you can check out maybe a future vacation site if one of these captures your eyes. There's a couple of really beautiful beaches here, and when you see the Anima Beach Club, I think you're going to be really impressed. It's only been there for a few years, but it's pretty posh. A lot of times it's used mostly for lunch, and then I see a lot of boats stopping off and anchoring offshore where they basically bring them in for dinners. Anyways, we'll be coming up to that shortly. This particular resort is called La Troza. Been here for a while, really fancy. I've always enjoyed walking around it. They've got a great cement or cobblestone type walkway, and it's just in an idyllic setting. I'll tell you, I think it would be really nice to stay in this particular location. You would be out of the hustle and bustle of Puerto Vallarta, but it would be very easy to get to by boat. So if you're looking for a nice romantic spot away from everything and some peace and quiet, I would highly recommend La Troza. At this point, you're about 4 kilometers into the hike, so you only have about a half a mile or 0.8 kilometers to go before you get to Las Animas, where you can grab lunch and a refreshment. I like to get myself a nice Pacifico, or as I refer to it, my reward beer for doing the hike. Great beers, great food in Las Animas.
Time 2 hours, 10 minutes, 8 seconds. Total distance 4.0 kilometers. Average pace 32 minutes, 32 seconds per kilometer. Split pace 32 minutes, 2 seconds.
Normally it takes about 2 hours at a steady pace to get to Las Animas from Boca de Tomatlan. But remember, we stopped at Calamitos Beach and had a swim, so we used up about 20 minutes of our time there.
No way, Lane. Wow. I would have never guessed. Oh, you're sweet. No, I would have said like 20.
In this section of the trail, I routinely find iguanas. They're generally sitting on top of the rocks or hiding amongst them. So here's a few that we spotted today.
Yeah, the green ones look a little friendlier.
So once you're in the sun, you can't catch it.
Nope, that's a good one.
I don't know what the name of this particular resort is, but you can see from the sign they're having a special 3 drinks for the price of. The only danger with these particular bars along the walk is that if you stop and grab something, you may never get going again. And you're so close to Las Animas, I recommend you just keep on going. But if you did want to stop, just past this resort is the entrance to Anima, the posh beach club, which I was talking about earlier.
Nice kitchen. It's like Tuesday may be their day off though. They don't got the fire lit and they're closed.
There you go. We can just come and sit on their fabulous couches with the 10 minutes on the
Generally around 4 or 5 o'clock, you see the boats all lined up and they're coming in here, yeah.
So this is the Anima Beach Club. Unfortunately today it's Tuesday and it looks like they're closed down for lunch. The fire pit is not lit and there doesn't seem to be anybody here but the maintenance staff. But you can see how nice it is. A great sitting area for lunch and then a whole bunch of other areas for just lounging around and having drinks.
They got quite the stock bar. Up there. Hola, amigo.
Hola.
Buen día. Check out their change rooms and restrooms. Little on the fancy side. Oh yeah. It's called Animas. Yeah, so obviously this must be a down day.
So in addition to some bars, there's also some locals who are selling drinks along the way. I like to go to this one. They also, they generally have fresh coconuts or different agua frescas, which are the perfect drink for me, non-alcoholic when I'm doing a hike.
Buen día.
Buenos días, bienvenidos.
So this is the last resort that we're going to pass through before we enter the town of Las Animas. This one's sort of interesting because it's on stilts. I'm not sure if it's a business thing that they're running here. I don't really see a lot of tourists, but they do definitely have a restaurant, definitely have sitting areas, and interesting thing about it is they've got all these rooms that are on stilts where I assume all the guests are staying.
Here's my next office space.
Right? Like, how perfect is that?
I want it.
You are now entering the town of Las Animas. It is or was a small fishing village, but I guess for the last several years it's expanded pretty exponentially, because when you get to the main beach section, you will see a nice dock, and there's probably a dozen restaurants along the beach. All of them are good. We go to one particular one right now called Las Conas, which you'll see shortly.
Welcoming committee.
Exactly.
I bet you $1 million you can get free range eggs here. Not going to take that bet?
Oh, you said you're betting me.
Exactly.
You said I make $1 million.
And there she is. Las Animas. The beach. Buenas tardes.
One of the nice things about going to the restaurants here is most of them have tables or chairs that you can lay out right in front of their restaurant, right on the beach. And as long as you use their restaurants and are buying drinks from them, they'll allow you to use them at no charge. Las Animas is a very popular beach, and I think you can see why. That's nice, clean brown sand. It's fairly easy to get into the water, and lots of restaurants, a few homes. I don't think the town is that big, so I think most of the people here are working in these restaurants. It is a very popular destination. Tours coming off the cruise ships or from people in town from the resorts often take an excursion here. Probably costs a few bucks. I'm not sure how much, but it's very easy to hike to or boat to yourself. So rather than paying the tour excursion fare, if you watch this video, I think you can figure out how to do it yourself.
Gracias.
So now it's time for the reward. You've done the nice hike, and your reward is a great lunch and a cerveza in my case. Really enjoy it. You can't beat, I don't think you can beat this hike. The vistas are great, and this reward at the end with a fantastic restaurant with incredible views, and then finishing up with a boat ride back to either the pier, Los Muertos in Puerto Vallarta. If you can get a ride, that's tough to do sometimes, but more than likely take the boat back to the pier in Boca and then take the bus back to Puerto Vallarta. It only costs 10 pesos, and the boat ride lasts no more than about 10 minutes, so well worth it. It's a good way to finish up this particular hike.
Well, welcome to Conos and Las Animas. Cheers!
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Cheers.
And cheers, Dave. You with the cerveza on a beach on La Playa?
It's amazing. You've never seen that before.
No.
As I said earlier, you don't need to hike here to be able to enjoy Las Animas. You can also get a water taxi from Boca or even the pier Los Muertos in downtown Puerto Vallarta. You can also do lots of different excursions with Vallarta Adventures. They'll take you right here as well. But now you followed this video all the way to the end, you can see how easy it is to do it yourself. So save yourself some money and have a lot of fun on this hike by doing it yourself. I think from these pictures you can see why it's hard to beat this particular place. So in addition to the beach, you gotta check out the food. All the restaurants are good. At Las Conas, one of their specialties is the pulpo, which is octopus. I like it grilled and with a serrandado sauce. I think it's some of the best you could find in the area, and I highly recommend it.
Now that you got a full mouth, John, is it good?
Muy bueno.
Grilled pulpa with serrandado sauce. I'm telling you, this is amazing. Hey, what do you think about the shrimp?
As Cameron is perfecto.
Perfecto.
Not the shell though.
Not the shell, but everything else is great.
Sauce. Oh my god, look at that.
Like those little green.
Unfortunately for us, when we decided to hit the beach and use the lounge chairs provided by the restaurant here, it became a little overcast. Still, I will say the beach is gorgeous, and fortunately for everybody, the water's warm, so a great place to take a swim before you catch your boat back to Boca or the Los Muertos Pier in Puerto Vallarta.
You're not buying the grasshoppers, Lynn?
Half a pound. Half a pound or 100 pesos. 100 pesos for half. Those are grasshoppers?
Yeah. You want some grasshoppers, David? Come on! Be brave.
You have
Be
some.
brave, man. You're in Mexico. How much for the grasshoppers?
¿Cuánto cuesta grape?
Lo mismo.
Mismo?
Sí.
Same.
Sí,
Ah.
sí.
How much for the grasshoppers?
150.
150 for a kilo? Ah, cup.
No, gracias.
No, gracias.
Just a little bit, John. Un poco.
So we finished up our day on the beach and decided that instead of going back to Boca and catching the bus there, we would catch a water taxi all the way back to the Los Muertos Pier. The charge for the water taxi was by the boat. We paid 1,600 pesos. So, and there was 6 of us, so we would have got more people in. We could have reduced that cost. So it cost us a little under 300 pesos each, but it probably saved us a good half an hour to an hour to get back into town. Fun ride as well, and on that ride we were able to see some dolphins swimming with the boat. Well, anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, just drop me a note on YouTube, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Enjoy your day. Take care, everybody, and make it out to Puerto Vallarta and Las Animas and do this hike. It's really one of the best things to do in the area.
You grab something that looks like my shoes floating back there, please, sir? Thank you so much. I thought they looked like your shoes floating there. But even her feet are